What's up out there? Today is Father's Day, and that means we need to give a big happy Father's Day to Katava, the father of corruption, because without him, none of us would be here. Yesterday, I put a video out with Day 1 progress, which I got through Act 1, Act 2, and was in the middle of Act 3. I had just swapped over to Cyclone and was starting to plow through the campaign, but that was Friday progress. This is now Sunday, and yesterday I spent a couple of sessions in the afternoon and then the evening, and then I spent another session this morning, and I'm completely done with the campaign. I had anticipated getting into maps probably this evening at some point, but I woke up early and I was just ready to finish it. I finished off last night in the middle of Act 9. If I'd have just stayed up another hour, I could have finished it off, but I was like, I gotta go spend some time with the dog and kind of get away from things for a little bit, but campaign went really smooth. There was a point in time where I was just kind of moving along a little bit slow, probably up until Act 5. There was a glove that I got in Act 5, a unique glove I got off a mercenary that pretty much replaced whatever garbage I had, and I think it was already a 4-link. I just needed to recolor it, but I couldn't get movement speed on my boots. Like, I had boots with movement speed, but I couldn't equip them because I had my Cyclone 4-link set up in those boots. So once I was able to swap over to the gloves, I started getting, I think, 20% movement speed, and then I started really flying through the campaign. I got a better axe at some point, and I blasted this campaign. I don't remember where I looked at it, maybe Act 6 or something like that. You know, you do your /played and see what it is. It was tracking right at 1 hour per act, which is normal for me to complete the campaign in. In fact, on a league start scenario in SSF, where I'm trying to find all my own stuff and, you know, build my own gear, do all DIY, it's normally, it's not unheard of that it takes me 11 to maybe 12 hours, depending on how the league is. I think when I league started Settlers League, it was a really bad build and it took a long time. Like, I had to grind a lot of stuff out. So I think that one was closer to the 12-hour mark. This league here, with this build that I've got going on, I finished the campaign in 8 hours and 58 minutes, like right at 9 hours. Now, that didn't include 4 of the little bosses that give you passive points or whatever. I think there was 4 of them I had to go clean up in the campaign. There was like another half hour of that stuff, which a lot of times I'll go through and finish those first so I don't have to take the penalty to resistances. But with this build, I didn't have to worry about that, so I just didn't care. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go finish off Katava. But I finished the campaign in just under 9 hours. And like I said, I was tracking to 1 hour per act, so I would have been around 10 to 11 hours, something like that. Finished it in 9 hours. I blasted this thing. I was just screaming through it. I died a total of 7 times in the campaign. I've got 8 deaths now because I died another time to a mercenary. But the first, I think, 3 deaths that I had were just stuff in the campaign. I died, I think, twice to Mervale. And then in Act 2 on the left side over there, there's those guys that swarm in and explode. I think I died to some red stuff up in Act 1. Those red ones that explode too. I think they cornered me. So I think I had 3, maybe 4 deaths to like the campaign. All the rest of my deaths have been to mercenaries, like the ones with the really nasty chaos damage or whatever, and I have no chaos res. So, like, I had good movement speed, I had decent damage, everything was feeling really good. The first lab felt kind of soft on damage, but then as stuff started building up, gear got better, you know, of course, more points into the passive tree, things like that. I started smoking the campaign. So I finished this thing in under 9 hours. I am very happy with that. That is definite improvement. So I think this build is a good build for me to go forward with. And just to give you an indication of where things were, I completed, and I know you're going to say the tooltip DPS is useless. It is a metric. It may not be the most accurate metric, but it is a metric, and you can use it to look at maybe other builds and see how things go. I know it's not accurate. I know it doesn't necessarily compare depending on what you're doing and blah, 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 blah. But it is a metric. So when I completed the campaign in 325 Settlers League, I had that caustic arrow, whatever I was trying to do with that. That was a very bad league start. I had nothing but problems. I died a lot. I had frustration after frustration. It was miserable. And I think that if I haven't been like religiously writing everything down, but I have written a bunch of builds that I've done at various stages of the campaign, what DPS they had in what act. That one finished the campaign at 2,800 DPS. That was really low. That sucked and it was miserable. The build that I tested out in 325 at the very end of Settlers League, I did this build, went through the campaign, I logged it, whenever I remembered, I would go in and throw it on my spreadsheet. In Act 6, this build was doing 2600 DPS. This build today that I just went through the campaign with was doing 4100 DPS in Act 6. So massive improvements along the way. And like I said, it's not necessarily the best metric in the world, but it is a metric. And I think I can attribute that to, I'm a lot more experienced with the game now. I've ran this Chieftain build. I think this is the third time I've built it, maybe fourth time. So I'm getting repetition with it and getting to, ironing out what needs to go where. And part of that is that I pathed into some of the two-hand nodes a little bit quicker than I would have in the past. I probably would have picked up a little bit more defensive stuff along the way, or I don't know. I feel like I did a better job of pathing everything. I've already got my POB. It's now just trying to figure out what to put when and where. I'm here, I need to put these nodes into this point, things like that. So I can attribute that to this. When I finished the campaign, I had somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 tooltip DPS, which is one of the better DPS. Not necessarily the best that I've finished the campaign with, but it is up there with some of the other Cyclone builds that have had 24,000 DPS. I think the best one I had was like a 28,000 DPS or something like that. So being right in that ballpark and just dominating everything, the resistances that I had, whatever gear choices I've made, has been really good because I haven't died at anything and nothing's killed me. So I'm very pleased with the way the build is going. I was basically res capped from the first lab run that I did, I think in Act 4. And then I was still res capped in Act 5, and I am still res capped in Act 6, and I am still res capped after Act 10. So because the first thing I path into is where you get like 50% of fire res counts for cold and lightning and stuff like that. So you basically just ramp up your fire res and then you're good to go. The second lab that I took was the one that makes everything on the screen blow up, or it's a chance for things to explode with fire damage. So now I've got my res cap in Act 4, and then I'm starting to do screen clearing in Act 6 or 7 whenever I did my second lab run. So that went really well. I will say the first lab that I did felt a little bit slow on, killing Lazaro or whatever. I had no issues taking damage. Also, he didn't do his big leap slam at any point in either of the lab runs that I did or any of the 6 times that I've had to face him. That's what usually kills me, is when he does that big jump. But I'm also starting to learn that if he does do that, go in the opposite direction so I don't have to tank it. Normally, I end up going into where he's going because I know he's going to do it, and then I leap slam back. But if I just stay spinning right around him, he doesn't leap, and then I just don't die. But I don't really die to anything else that he's got aside from that big slam. So all that went really well. The second time, I had already had a bunch of stuff built up, and I was just trashing him. So that was really good. As far as the mercenaries go, I have not been using the mercenaries all the time. Like, there's points in time where I'll use them and points in time where I won't. I kind of got sick of throwing gear on them, so I stopped using them for a little while, and then I'd go back to using them. And then I started exiling them, and I'm like, well, this is stupid. Why wouldn't I just take the currency they have on them? And, and some of them had just garbage currency, and I felt like it was less of a waste of my time, as stupid as this sounds, to just exile them, because the currency they had was so garbage, I didn't want to pick it up. But then I was like, well, if I kill them and take the currency, it's free currency. So, and I'm still going to kill them to exile them. So it was kind of a little weird argument that I had going on with myself. But I ended up stopped using them for a while, and then I'd come back to them here and there. Like, I think I don't know. There was a few times, various points of the campaign where I just didn't use them. There were some times where I did. I don't think the mercenaries have been all that impactful for me. Like, there are certain acts they definitely felt good to have, but they've not. I see people talking about having them where they're just running around killing everything for you. I've not had one like that. Of course, I haven't geared them either, because I'm struggling to get gear for myself. So then I have to remember, oh yeah, usually it's a caster, so I got to go get caster gear, and I just haven't been putting the thought into it. So I'll get one for a little bit. When they die, I just leave them dead for a little while, and maybe I'll res them, maybe I'll get a different one. I don't know. I just kind of got sick of spending the money on them, spending the time on gearing them. So I had them on and off. What I started doing for a while was just killing them for their currency and gear and stuff like that. I got a few uniques out of them, and got some currency here and there. Nothing exciting, but I did, stack decks, a couple chaos here and there, some, I don't know, junk currency in there for a little bit. In Act 5, I got this unique glove that was really cool to keep going on. And then I got this amazing axe in Act 7 that was probably... The axe that I got in Act 7 is probably something I would have crafted up in early mapping, as opposed to, what I had before is probably what I would have carried out. And that, between the glove that I got and the axe that I got, which were both from mercenaries, I just decimated. I think that's why I got through the campaign so fast. It wasn't from the mercenaries directly, like killing everything for me. And even during boss fights, I didn't feel that they were all that impactful. They were maybe a distraction, but the gear that I got from them was way better than some of the gear that I've got. So that's probably what helped me get through the campaign so quick. And that's where, experience and learning how to put POB together and all that stuff, that all helps out considerably, sure. But getting a decent glove that has leech and stuff like that, I think it's got leech on it. And then this axe that's like an early mapping axe that I would have crafted, getting that in Act 7 really just tore everything up. So that made a really good, really impactful change to me, more than the mercenaries themselves. Now, there are some really cool mercenaries, and I can't wait to explore more of them in mapping, but I don't think they've been like super game-changing by any stretch. And then in the background, you've been watching all these different boss, I'll have a string of boss fights in there that I thought were pretty cool. I gotta say that when you've got a decent amount of damage coming off of your build, the immunity phases on bosses, how can I say this? Because it's gonna sound stupid no matter how I say this, but the immunity phases on the boss fights just feel like a waste of time. Now, if you're, let me explain this a little bit. If you've got a really bad build, and you get to one of those immunity phases where they're like summoning ads or something, and you're trying to get your flasks refilled or whatever, or you're just taking this massive ass kicking and you just need a break from it, and they're gonna stop and go do some story bit like Arakali going and talking to what's his head, and like there's no combat, there's no ads, there's nothing, you're just kind of getting a break. Those are good when you've got a bad build, but when you've got a good build and you're just decimating things, decimating is probably too strong of a word. This isn't that good of a build, but when you're steadily just mowing them down and then you have to wait for this immunity phase that is, you're just gonna cakewalk through it, it's wasting your time. It's kind of an interesting experience because I've not had this before. Normally when I go through the campaign, I'll die to a boss and I'll be like, man, that sucked. Or, there'll be a phase where I'm like, oh, good, I can finally get my flask back because I'm having to heal constantly or something like that. I did not run into any of that with any of these bosses. Okay, I'd still have to hit my flasks and stuff like that, but it wasn't the panic, oh my God, I'm dying, and I'm completely out of flask charges and I die. That's a lot of times how I die, is I just run out of flask charges. Like, this was a great run through the campaign. Tukohama in, what is he in act, whatever act he's in, he normally kills me off, like the thing that shoots the fire off, the little, whatever that thing is in the middle of the screen that shoots that fire out. I don't know what that does. I think a lot of times it either, I don't know that it does damage, but it causes you to take more damage or something like that. Whatever that thing is, normally is really bad for me. All I had to do is just dodge the big slam he does on the ground. I could stand in almost everything else. I had no issues fighting him. Arakali was a cake fight. That, normally she'll throw whatever that purple crap is out and kill me. And I think I had a mercenary on some of these and some of them I didn't. But like I said, I don't think the mercenary made all that much difference. I was just straight up destroying these with my Cyclone. Solaris and Lunaris, I don't remember if I had a mercenary in there or not, but those, I normally take a massive amount of damage when I'm fighting them and just get, one of them will kill me. Usually I think it's Lunaris with the cold and everything, but whatever I had with this build just steamrolled right through those. I could sit in their AoEs without too much issue. You got to get out here and there, but like I wasn't like draining life super fast. General Adis and the lightning guy that's in Act 9, he normally just destroyed me. Now, I did that one with a mercenary, so the mercenary might have helped out a little bit there, but I'm starting to know when to get away from him and not just tank all his damage. And I was also doing a decent bit of damage with it. And then the Depraved Trinity, I thought that was a really good fight. The ads on that one are more devastating to me for whatever reason than the actual Trinity itself. So and I'm starting to learn how to dodge, or not how to dodge, but I'm learning when to dodge and not try to tank everything like I normally do. So I'm getting out of the way of some of the AoEs, but you know, even that fight normally kills me. I didn't die once there. And then the final Kitava fight to round it all off, that went really well too. Again, with every one of those has, Adis doesn't, but like the Depraved Trinity, there's a point in time where the thing just goes off and you got to wait for the ads to come out. When you're fighting Kitava, you got to wait for the heart to come out. And then there's all these various phases where you just stop. There's nothing on the screen. Your rage drops off and like you're just sitting there waiting. All of that took far longer to do than the actual DPS on it. So, so far so good. I have had really good clear because I get the explosions from that one Ascendancy node and the damage that I'm doing. So even the rares just get eaten away if there's a big explosion. If there's not a big explosion, I'm doing enough DPS that I'm killing stuff off. There's not been too many uniques that I've had to sit and spend a lot of time killing. You know, there's some soul eaters and stuff like that that'll come along. A lot of those are just dying to the big packs that explode when they go off. So, yeah, having a really good time with this league. I've gotten started into mapping. I've got 2 maps done, and I'm about ready to just go plow into it. Once I get this video edited out and uploaded and all that stuff, I will be back tonight to do a lot more mapping and everything. But so far so good, really good progress. The mercenaries feel good. They don't necessarily, I've gotten better gear out of them than I've had as far as the mercenaries themselves, and everything else has been really good. This is a great league start for me. And I am ready to start plowing through the maps, and hopefully I'll be through the mapping by the end of this weekend, or end of next weekend. So anyway, that is going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.